Hey everyone, I'm Karn from Enable, and welcome back to the official video tutorial series on AbleSet. In this video, we're going to talk about redundant playback setups. They've become more and more common in recent years, and the idea is to run identical Ableton Live sessions on two computers simultaneously, so you always have an active backup. In a setup like this, we refer to our main machine as the A computer and our backup machine as the B computer. AbleSet is designed with redundant playback in mind. If you have two computers on the same network running AbleSet, you can control both Ableton sessions on them simultaneously from a remote device or a MIDI controller on stage. This feature is called AbleNet and helps you keep your redundant setups in sync. Let's talk about how to set it up. First of all, make sure both computers are connected via the same network. Here again, we recommend using a wired connection. This is one of our flyable playback systems where everything is already hooked up. I've got my A computer on the left and my B computer on the right, and there's a network switch where everything is connected in the back. And I can see both computers on the screen right here. This is my A computer, and if I swipe over, I can see my B computer. On your screen, you're going to see the A computer on the left side indicated by the green menu bar, and the B computer on the right side indicated by the red menu bar. In your redundant setup, save your Ableton Live session on your main computer, copy it to your backup computer, and open it there as well. As you can see, I've already got this set up on both my main and my backup machine right here. And now, with AbleSet running on both machines, go into the settings, scroll down to Redundancy in AbleNet, and activate the Enable AbleNet toggle in there. And once that's done, your computers should already see each other. AbleSet will now display how many hosts it recognizes on the network. A host is basically just a computer that is running AbleSet. Be aware that any computer in the network running the AbleSet app will be recognized as a host, even if that computer is not running an Ableton session. This might be good to know if you're seeing more hosts than expected. And if I now click on a song, you'll see that not only will my A computer jump there, but the jump has also occurred on my B computer. And the same thing is true when I go into a certain section of a song, both computers will sync up. And this obviously also works for remote devices. For instance, I can select different songs, go backwards and forwards, and even press play,
1, 2, 3,
and both computers will stay in sync. AbleNet will also sync all playback and count-in settings across both host computers, ensuring that both playheads behave the same way. Now, while AbleNet is an extremely powerful feature, there's a few things to look out for and understand for proper usage. For example, even though both AbleSet instances are synced up through AbleNet, they're still independent of each other. I can demonstrate this by jumping to a different point in the timeline in my Ableton session, and this position change will be reflected on AbleSet B, but AbleSet on the A computer is still where it was before. This is a problem because if I now press play in AbleSet, the computers will not be in sync. The easiest way to avoid this is to simply always use AbleSet to navigate throughout your songs. And if you ever do need to make a change on a specific computer, like taking out some of the playback right here, just click back into a section in AbleSet or a song, and both computers will sync right up. This is also relevant for remote devices. While I can control both sessions from my iPad, it technically is still only connected to one of the host computers. I can verify which one this is by clicking on hosts up here, and it'll show me whether I'm connected to Mac Mini A or Mac Mini B. I can also check the host name or IP address in the URL bar. Now, since I'm technically only connected directly to my Mac Mini A from the iPad right here, the iPad will only mirror the Mac Mini A's playback position. This shouldn't be an issue because the playhead will stay in sync as long as you use AbleSet correctly, like clicking and navigating the songs through AbleSet instead of Ableton. But just beware of this if you're having syncing issues. And the good thing is that if the connection to this host breaks, for instance, when Ableton Live crashes on that computer, AbleSet will actually automatically smartly switch all remote devices over to the other host. If your computer has more than one active network port, this would for instance be the case if you had Ethernet and Wi-Fi connected at the same time, it's important to select the port where you want AbleSet to communicate. I can do this by going up into the menu bar settings, go over to preferred network, and then choose the one I want. Next up, let's talk about MIDI control with AbleNet setups. Most MIDI controllers and MIDI interfaces will only be able to connect to one computer at a time. In this scenario, we'd probably connect it to the backup computer and create the MIDI mappings there. However, I can still have redundant control of both computers by activating the AbleNet toggle next to my MIDI device's name. MIDI mapped commands will then get forwarded to all AbleSet hosts on the network. So once again, even though my controller is only connected to one computer, if I now trigger the MIDI commands and go forward a song or backward a song or even press play, or stop, then you'll see that both computers have reacted to these commands. Just know that all MIDI is still going through the computer that the controller is connected to, so if that computer happened to crash, you won't have MIDI control anymore. To prevent this, typical redundant configurations are set up so that both computers receive the same MIDI messages independently. This can either be done with an interface like the PlayAUDIO 1U, a MIDI controller with 2 USB ports, or by sending MIDI on the network using RTP like we're doing in this system. In this case, I would make the MIDI mappings under the network port and leave the AbleNet toggle unchecked. So after you've created your mappings on the B computer, save the session, copy it over to the A computer and open it over there, and your MIDI mapping should appear there as well. Just make sure that the MIDI port you used has the same name on both machines. As you can see, I'm now controlling both computers individually, but in sync, giving you full redundancy. Next, let's check out some of the advanced options AbleNet offers in the settings. We've already seen that AbleNet hosts automatically detect and connect to each other when they are on the same network. You'll see a list of all your connected hosts right here, and then it's important to identify the one that you want to change the settings for. For me, that is my Mac Mini A. By the way, this is where clear host names will come in really handy. For better orientation, the topmost entry will always be the computer you're currently connected to. First, let's talk about the Connect to Custom IP setting. This helps you avoid unwanted connections. With no IP entered in this field, my main computer will establish an AbleNet connection with not only my backup computer, but also any other host on the network. For instance, you can see if I scroll down that there's a host down here that I don't want in the network, and this host will actually have control over my playback, which obviously I would not want. So back in my main computer setting, in the Connect to Custom IP field, I will go in and enter just the IP of my B computer. And you can see as soon as I do that, the unwanted host disappears. Now I'll go ahead and do the equivalent thing on the B computer, so I'll enter my A computer's IP address, and this way the computers will only talk to each other. If you have a more elaborate setup with additional computers you want to sync up, you can also enter multiple IPs down here and just separate them using a comma. With the connected scene setting, I can tell AbleSet that my A computer is connected to the A side of my redundant audio interface, and the B computer is connected to the B side. I'll show you how this is helpful in just a second, but you'll notice that the A computer's AbleSet is now green and the B computer's AbleSet is now red. Next, we'll see this automatic drift correction toggle, so let's talk about what that is. AbleNet is designed to help you navigate the timeline of your redundant computers simultaneously and start your playback in sync. However, computers aren't perfect, networks aren't perfect, and Ableton Live isn't always perfect, so it can sometimes happen that they don't actually start perfectly in time. The automatic drift correction function is built to counteract this. It uses Ableton Live's phase nudge buttons, which temporarily increase or decrease Ableton Live's tempo by small amounts. If AbleSet recognizes that the playback computers did not start in sync, automatic drift correction will trigger these buttons during the first 10 seconds of playback to gradually nudge them back into sync. In a redundant setup with 2 computers, our recommendation is to only activate it on the B computer. This way, the main will kind of act as a master, and the backup will follow. Also, since the main computer is usually the one that is active, the tempo adjustments on the backup computer will not be audible. Automatic drift correction can be great, but we only recommend using it if you're actually having syncing issues. It's really important that all your audio clips are warped for it to work properly. Unwarped clips will run out of sync with your grid and your click because they won't follow the tempo adjustments that AbleSet is making. So make sure that your session is set up correctly, test it in a non-critical situation, and use with caution. And finally, below automatic drift correction, we have a feature which can be a huge lifesaver in critical performance scenarios. And that's the ability to sync a host that crashed back up with the other host that's still running. Okay, so let's assume my B computer has crashed during a show. So I rebooted it and I opened Ableton back up. But the problem I'm facing now is that my A computer is still playing while my B computer is stopped, so I don't have full redundancy in this moment. Usually I'd have to wait for the A computer to stop playing before being able to sync them back up. Let's look at how AbleSet can help. So if I go back into my host selection menu up here, AbleSet will recognize that my B computer is actually paused, but I get the option to sync the playback with this selection down here. And as you can see, once I click that, the B computer lined up with where the A computer is playing, and they're now perfectly back in sync. In redundancy, we use switching audio interfaces that connect to both playback machines at the same time. These can then detect if one of the machines fails and automatically switch over to the other one without you barely even noticing it. They do this by listening for a detection signal from each machine, which basically just tells the interface, hey, I'm still here. AbleSet not only keeps both playback machines in sync, but also integrates with most of these interfaces. A connected interface will be recognized automatically, and you'll see this little green dot appear up in the AbleSet window. If you can't see it, make sure the Show Audio Interfaces toggle is active in the setlist settings. If the dot is green, that means that the interface is switched to the main computer, so scene A, and red means that it's on the backup, so scene B. And since we assigned both playback computers to either scene A or scene B in the settings earlier, I can now set up my remote iPad to always connect to the active scene. For this, I can go into the settings on the iPad, scroll down all the way to AbleNet and redundancy, and then enable the toggle on Follow Current Audio Interface Scene. You'll now notice that if my interface switches the scene, the iPad will actually jump to the other host that is assigned to that scene. This is really great since my iPad is now always showing me the playback location of the computer that I'm actually hearing, and in case one computer fails, the iPad will just go to the one that's active on the interface. Just a quick note though, you'll notice that I have this setting disabled on my computer because it's still on scene A even though the interface is on scene B, and that way it will always stick to its own Ableton session. AbleSet also lets me monitor and control more aspects of the audio interface. You'll notice that the green dot is now glowing, which means that it is armed for failover, ready to switch to scene B if there's an issue with scene A. And in case that happens, you'll now see a red dot with a faster glowing pulse. I can also click on the dot to see more options, and the pop-up that comes up will look different depending on which interface you're using. Let's quickly go through the different ones by manufacturer. Let's start with the PlayAUDIO series of interfaces from iConnectivity. At the top, it'll tell me which scene I'm on and whether the scene is armed, and if there was a failover, it'll show me the failover alarm. I also have level meters, so I can see my playback levels even on a remote device. And I also get an indication whether the sine signal is being received from both of my computers. And finally, at the bottom, I can use this button to switch manually between scene A and scene B. Next, let's look at DirectOut interfaces. AbleSet integrates with EXBOX.MD, like the one we had set up in the Flyable rig you saw earlier, but also with Andiamo, Maven, and Prodigy. For these interfaces to appear, your computer will need to be in the same network as the devices. For the Xbox, this works on the Dante ports, but for Andiamo, Maven, and Prodigy, you will need a connection to their management port. DirectOut interfaces have a few more options when it comes to redundant switching, and AbleSet integrates with all of these options as well. As you can see, my Prodigy is already connected, and once I set up an ears redundancy, AbleSet will recognize this right away and show me the available sources. In my case, this is my A computer and my B computer. I can see whether my computers are sending a BLDS signal in green, a pilot tone in yellow, and if there's no trigger at all, the dots are shown in red. Clicking on one of these sources does not trigger a switch directly, but rather it changes whether the switching is automatic or prioritizing one specific source. So if I want to manually switch sources from AbleSet, this is only possible if their status lights have the same color. If you force the switching to one of the sources, AbleSet will actually display a little lock icon. And if you enable disaster recovery, AbleSet will show you a third source right here. On top of that, AbleSet will also reflect if you have multiple ears redundancies set up and show you all the different sources for those as well. Okay, and finally, we've got the integration with the interfaces from Digital Audio Denmark, or DAD for short. AbleSet supports the Core 256, the AX Center, and the AX64. Currently, this integration only works on network, so if you're using your DAD devices to playback audio via Thunderbolt, you will need an additional Ethernet connection to the network port on the back. If you have a control pack preset set up on your device, AbleSet will recognize it right away and reflect the control pack state. The name of your switching preset and your source sets is automatically carried over as well. The little green bar below my sources actually shows me the validity of my trigger sources. So if the sign from my B computer was to drop out, this would turn red. AbleSet shows me my active source set in green over here, and I can override automatic switching by simply clicking on one of the source sets, and then it will turn blue. If I now click the blue source set again, automatic switching will be re-enabled. If you have 3 or 4 source sets configured in your control pack, these will also appear in AbleSet right here. But the scene toggle will actually only switch between the first and the second source set. You'll notice that now the indicator at the top will turn red as soon as I'm on the second, third, or fourth source set, and go back to green if I'm on the first source set. AbleSet will also show any additional control packs you have set up. But since you can have up to 32 control packs per DAD device, the AbleSet interface could get quite cluttered with this. We can change what we're seeing here using flags. This time we need to add the flag to the control pack name within the DADman software. I can hide a specific control pack by simply including +hide in the name, and you'll see it disappear here in AbleSet. And if I have a really long list of presets and instead only want AbleSet to show a select few, I'm going to use the +show flag instead. And then I'll only get the flagged control pack presets. Now, one thing you'll notice with control packs is that the indicator light up here will react to any of them. So if I switch to the backup, you can see it go into red. And if I don't want this and I only want the indicator light to show a specific control pack, I can just put +main into that control pack's name. And now switching another control pack will not affect the indicator light. Now, the really great thing about audio interface integrations is that it works with more than one device, as you can see right here. And it also works with different devices from different manufacturers. AbleSet just brings them together in one user interface, which is really, really cool. If you want to hide a certain device, you can go into the settings and just scroll down. You'll find a audio interfaces section where I can switch on or off certain devices, and the menu will adapt accordingly. Okay, so you should now be all caught up on redundant systems. That covers it for Chapter 2. You've now got all the tools to run a powerful, redundant playback system with dynamic playback navigation and set up different AbleSet user interfaces around your stage. The third chapter is going to be all about advanced features and some more special workflows. We'll look at using AbleSet to display lyrics, we'll check out the mixer feature, and afterwards we're going to go full on into customization mode with Canvas, OSC, and scripting. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for your interest in AbleSet. You can get your trial or purchase a license on AbleSet.com. Please hit the like button and please subscribe. Also, feel free to head over to Instagram and follow AbleSet and Enable over there. You'll find more content on all things playback. And finally, if you're interested in becoming a playback engineer at Enable, we also offer in-person and online workshops on Ableton Live, hardware setups, and creative use of technology.